start by talking a little bit about concepts and how to develop concepts in SketchUp. I've selected a concept, just a quick kind of formal concept, and I've kind of outlined it here. So on the mission reach, I was particularly interested in the role of the grass in securing the bank and its significance in the ecosystem itself. So I've kind of focused in on the grass to find inspiration. And I look a little bit closer and kind of found an interest in the seeds that the grass produces. And then I look even closer and I can see shapes and form and structure and volume. And then I look a little bit closer and I see kind of the different components of a piece of grass seed and exactly how those things might be arranged. What I'm looking for is something that can offer me form, space, and order, and on multiple levels. A good concept really helps organize the design process. So in this case, I kind of found these seed husks, the things that protect the seed, as kind of being voids, and I'm looking at their shape and their structure and kind of how they contain the seed, and then I might look at them a little bit closer in a couple of different ways, and then finally I look at how they might be organized, or how an organization might come from the concept to help with the project. So, does the concept inform the design in terms of form, space, and order? That's really what we're trying to do with a concept. I wanted to briefly show you how to go about developing a concept in SketchUp, and while I was waiting for one of the videos to upload to YouTube, I went ahead and did this. It represents about a couple of hours worth of work, maybe, in SketchUp. What's rolling through on the slides is kind of the output of my conceptual exploration, but I want to show you how I got there. Well, let's just go ahead and pause this video so we can start to orbit around. And let's get to the south part of the site here. If I zoom out, you'll see my explorations right over here to the right. And this is where I started. I started with a simple shape. If you ever use a circle, it's important to bisect it so you maintain the middle. So before I ever did anything three-dimensional, kind of mark the two-dimensional piece, and the next iteration here, you can see it starts getting extruded, and right away I copy it again. Here you can see a plane that I was using to bisect a cone that I had generated, and over here you can see the cone itself. After trying this out on the site, I realized that wasn't the direction I wanted to go, so I kind of copied this earlier version here and started exploring a different formal shape. And what I did here is I generated a compound curve that could easily be reproduced with arcs. There's a center of an arc and a radius that's reproducible. And it was reproduced right here. So each time I make a change, I copy it forward. Here you can see I was kind of paying attention to the fact that I wanted the top to be open, so there's kind of an inward angle there. And here you can see the shape form that I ended up with. I copied that a few times because I start to work on them, start to erase some things out of them, and then I'm left with a shell. So this shell is partially incomplete without knowing exactly what's going to happen. I copied it to complete it, but there's that original circle with the center clearly marked. As I move forward over here, you can see now I'm attempting at splitting the circle up. I'm trying to reconcile structure, and if you think back to one of those seed pods, they had veins, so I was interested in a primary structure with a vein. I bisected the circle and extruded those up to where I could kind of really see what the proportions of those might be. Here the model is intersected, so everything I'm doing is reproducible. I'm going to go to the pan tool just so I can slide across here. So I end up with this profile shape, and then on the profile shape as a primary structural element I took a wide flange beam and I extruded the wide flange beam just across that shape. There it is, right there. So the way I did that is I used the follow me tool, And then I established kind of a structural shell that I used to make my pod. From there I kind of backtrack and explored some, well, how can I create a sense of enclosure, a sense of space that really makes sense for the concept. So I took the shell and copied it over a few times, and this one that's in a box is actually just a lot of little layers that I use as cutting planes to go ahead and cut that shell into pieces. These are just two-dimensional pieces. There's no material assigned. From there, I probably grouped it so it was easy to move, and began exploring how that could be integrated into a structural frame. And there's some tweaks that happen from here to here, so there's an extra copy of that thing. A number of these models were placed on the site at multiple points to guide the development. And this is just the last one. Clearly there's no circulation or no pad or anything or a launch space, and the scale might be a little bit large. But it gives you a sense of how to approach a project, maybe like the one you're doing in SketchUp. A lot of times I will do sketches and hand drawings alongside, but for the benefit of the video, I'm not going to bring in another media to throw in. And this would need to go through many iterations. This is by no means done. I need to be able to reproduce clearly and simplify some of the geometries, redraw and reproduce the shapes that I'm making. You should expect to have to rebuild your model from scratch at a minimum of 6 times, 6 full iterations, and this one's about done. I probably couldn't modify it anymore. If I wanted significant change, I kind of go back to the beginning and retrace my steps to get where I want to go. Additionally, I want to show you how to get out images. Setting scenes is important. Setting scenes from the point of view of a user is important, and maybe some overhead kind of bird's eye views are important. To get out an image, what we want to do is we want to export a PNG. This is more or less an image file, and we can open that image file and then we can use it in Photoshop. So for your concept boards, you'll want to take out a number of images just like this, and maybe I'm going to set my scenes, and I'm just going to go and export a PNG, and I can open that PNG in Photoshop or Illustrator. Additionally, remember, you can change the styles, and sometimes this really helps, if I can find the styles, to maybe something that reads a little bit more clearly, or a wireframe, or an X-ray kind of view. And if you want to get something that approximates a drawing, a hidden line style like this, with the change, let's find it, with it's going to be right here, with the change to parallel view, I can then export something that would approximate a drawing that I could then work with. And we've got standard views for those. I've got shadows on. That's kind of a really inconvenient shadow, so let's just give that shadow a bit of a change. There we go. And perhaps I want a section or something to that effect, so I could put a section plane on the ground here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this section plane up. We pick it to where it turns blue, and we're going to move it up through, there we go, and then I can just right click on that thing and say align view, zoom into the piece that we want to see, and I could begin to get something looks like a floor plan. Export. PNG. So hopefully this helps you a little bit in the development of your concept.